Elias walked a road that seemed to have no end. Dust rose with each tired step he took. His boots were old friends, scuffed and weary. A small satchel bumped against his hip. It held little more than bread and memories. He had been walking for many days, or perhaps weeks. Time had a way of blurring on such journeys. One sunrise melted into the next sunset. The landscape changed, but the feeling did not. A deep ache resided within his chest. He saw other travelers sometimes in the distance, but their paths never seemed to truly cross his. He longed for a kind word, a shared glance. The world around him was vast and indifferent. Fields stretched out, sometimes green, sometimes gold. Mountains loomed like sleeping giants in the haze. Rivers snaked like silver ribbons far away. He carried his loneliness carefully, like a fragile burden. Sometimes, under the vast canvas of the night sky, he would stop. He would look up at the countless glittering stars. The wind would whisper secrets he could not understand. And with the dawn, he would resume his endless walk. One evening, as the sun began to dip low, painting the sky in hues of orange and soft violet, Elias felt a subtle shift in the air around him. The usual scent of dust and dry earth lessened. A new fragrance reached him, delicate and sweet. It was unlike anything he had smelled before. It spoke of damp earth and blooming things unseen. It was a promise, perhaps, of something different, a whisper of magic on the tired evening breeze. He paused, his head tilted, listening with his heart. The road ahead still looked much the same, but this new scent, it pulled at him gently. He found himself turning his gaze from the road, looking towards the dense line of trees to his left. They had always been there, a dark, unremarkable border. But now they seemed to hold a secret. He took a few hesitant steps off the familiar path. The rough grass crunched softly under his worn boots. The air grew cooler here, away from the open road. He felt a stirring within him, a flicker of curiosity. It was enough to make him take another step. There was no visible path leading into the trees, no break in the dense wall of foliage. Yet Elias felt an undeniable pull, a gentle insistence, as if an invisible hand were guiding his way. He pushed aside a curtain of trailing ivy. Its leaves were cool and smooth against his skin. Behind it, the air was noticeably different, fresher, imbued with a damp, loamy richness. He stepped forward into the embrace of the woods. The light of the setting sun did not quite penetrate here. It was not dark, however, not in the way he expected. A soft, ethereal glow seemed to emanate from within. It was a light that did not come from sun or moon, but from the very essence of the place itself. The trees stood tall and ancient, their bark like wrinkled skin. Their branches intertwined high above, forming a living canopy. Moss, a vibrant, impossible green, carpeted the ground. It cushioned his footsteps, silencing his approach. He felt as though he had stepped into a dream woven from forgotten magic and deep tranquility. He walked deeper, the sounds of the outside world vanishing completely, replaced by a symphony of subtle forest noises. The leaves of the trees were not ordinary green. Many shimmered with a silver, almost metallic sheen. When the faintest breeze stirred the high branches, they did not rustle in the usual way. Instead, they created a sound like tiny chiming bells, or perhaps like soft, harmonious whispers. Elias found himself listening intently to these sounds. He felt as if the trees were trying to speak to him, not in words, but in a language of feeling and peace, a language his weary heart was slowly beginning to understand. He reached out a hand to touch a low-hanging branch. The silver leaves felt cool and smooth like polished silk. A gentle tremor ran through the branch at his touch, and for a moment he thought he heard a sigh of welcome. It was a fanciful thought, perhaps, born of his loneliness. But in this place, such fancies felt entirely possible. He smiled, a small, tentative curving of his lips. The forest seemed to respond to this small show of joy. The chiming of the leaves grew a little brighter, more melodic. Deeper, he ventured, drawn by an unseen current. The light remained soft, a diffuse glow that illuminated everything. It cast no harsh shadows, only gentle gradations of light and dark. The trees in this forest were unlike any Elias had known. They were not merely wood and leaf, silent sentinels. These trees seemed to possess a consciousness, a gentle spirit. Their bark, in places, swirled with patterns like galaxies, and in the deeper parts of the woods where the light was softest, he saw trees whose leaves did not reflect light, but emitted it. They pulsed with a soft, rhythmic glow, like captured starlight. Each leaf a tiny lantern, casting a serene illumination. It was as if the night sky itself had decided to take root and grow into these magnificent, luminous beings. He walked among them, feeling a sense of profound awe. The air around these starlight trees was cool and sweet. It carried the faintest scent of ozone, like after a gentle rain. He noticed that the moss growing at their bases also glowed, a soft carpet of emerald light, inviting him to rest. He reached out to touch the trunk of one such tree. It felt warm, surprisingly so, and vibrated with a slow pulse, like a great sleeping heart beating steadily in the quiet. He leaned his forehead against it for a moment and felt a wave of peace wash over him, deep and pure. The forest floor was not cluttered with fallen branches or dead leaves. Instead, it was covered in a soft layer of what looked like fallen stars. Tiny, sparkling motes that crunched softly underfoot. They gave off a faint, silvery light, adding to the ethereal glow. Everything here was part of a delicate, magical cycle. As Elias grew accustomed to the forest's gentle light, he began to notice its inhabitants, small and shy. They were not creatures of fur and claw, but beings seemingly woven from the forest's own magic. He saw small deer, their coats the colour of moonbeams, their antlers branched like silver coral. They moved with impossible grace, silent as shadows. Their large, dark eyes regarded him with curiosity. They would pause, watch him for a moment, then melt away. Rabbits with fur like spun moonlight hopped softly. Their ears were long and tipped with a faint blue light. They nibbled on glowing clover. Their movements were quick yet calm. Squirrels with tails like wisps of silver mist chattered softly. They darted among the starlight leaves. Elias watched them, a smile playing on his lips. Their playfulness was a balm to his spirit. Birds with feathers like stained glass flitted through the air. Their songs were like the chiming of tiny glass bells. Their melodies wove through the forest's gentle hum. Sometimes one would land on a branch near him. Its jewel-like eyes would study him with an ancient wisdom. Then it took flight again, leaving behind a sense of fleeting, beautiful connection. Even the insects here were touched by the forest's magic. Deeper into the heart of the glowing woods he walked, guided by a sense of peace. The gentle hum of the forest was strongest here. It vibrated through the soles of his feet. He came to a clearing, and in its center lay a pool of water, perfectly still. It seemed to hold the light of 1,000 stars, a deeper inner light, as if the pool itself were a liquid moon. Elias approached the edge of the pool slowly, reverently. He knelt by the water's edge, gazing into its depths. He saw his own reflection, but it was different. The pool did not just reflect his image. He trailed his fingers in the water. Tiny sparkles of light like submerged stars swirled around his hand. He felt an urge to speak, to voice the wishes in his heart. The pool seemed to understand the silent language of the heart. As the timeless moments passed by the starlit pool, Elias felt a profound transformation within him. The heavy cloak of sorrow he had carried for so long simply evaporated, like mist in the morning sun. It was not a forceful tearing away, but a gentle release, as if the forest had breathed it out of him. The ache in his chest was gone, replaced by a warmth that spread through his entire being. He felt light, almost buoyant, as if he could float on the serene currents of the forest's magic. His mind became clear and calm, like the surface of the pool. Worries about the past and anxieties about the future lost their sharp edges. He found himself living purely in the present moment, absorbing the beauty and peace that surrounded him. His inner voice, once critical and sad, became gentle. The forest did not demand anything of him. It simply offered its sanctuary, its quiet magic. And in that offering, he found a profound healing. He realized that the peace he had sought was not a destination, but a state to be found. And he had found it here in this hidden haven, cradled by trees that breathed starlight. His spirit, once so tired, felt refreshed and renewed. He understood now that the journey had not been in vain. Every dusty mile had led him to this very moment, to this place where his soul could finally rest. The forest was not an escape, but a deeper immersion into its truest, most magical heart. As a soft, pearlescent light began to filter through the canopy, Elias knew his journey on the endless road was over. He did not feel a desire to leave this sanctuary, nor did he feel trapped. Rather, he felt chosen, as if the forest had been waiting for him. He rose from the edge of the pool, his movements easy. His body felt strong, his spirit light and free. The forest seemed to greet this new dawn with a soft sigh, a gentle awakening of all its magical inhabitants. He knew he would not be lonely here. The trees were his companions, their whispers a constant comfort. The creatures of light were his silent friends. The very air he breathed was alive with gentle magic. He felt a sense of purpose begin to bloom within him. Not a grand ambition, but a quiet calling. To be a part of this place, to cherish it, to protect it, to be a keeper of its secrets, a guardian of its peace. It was a role that settled upon him as naturally as the soft moss carpeted the forest floor. He walked through the glowing woods as the light grew. The starlight trees dimmed their luminescence slightly, allowing the new day's gentle radiance to filter in. The forest was even more beautiful in this blended light, a tapestry of silver, green, and soft, ethereal hues. He felt no need for a map, no desire for a destination. His place was here, among the ancient, whispering trees. He would learn their language, understand